My name is Elias Crow, and the farm has been in my family since 1873. 100 acres of bottomland along the Red Willow River, passed down through 6 generations of sweat, blood, and stubbornness. My great-grandpa broke the first sod with a team of mules. My grandpa buried 2 sons in the little cemetery, out back during the Dust Bowl. I buried my wife there 15 years ago. This ground doesn't just belong to me. I belong to it. That's why the certified letter from the Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association felt like a knife in the ribs. They claimed my North 40 had been mistakenly excluded from their 2008 subdivision plat, said a surveying error in 1997, accidentally put my hayfield inside their boundaries. Now that they wanted to build, phase the RUR, 80 new McMansions with vinyl siding and 3-car garages. My land was suddenly theirs. They offered $180,000. Market value was closer to $3 million. I laughed so hard I cried. 3 weeks later, 6 sheriff's deputies rolled down my gravel lane in 3 marked SUVs, lights flashing like it was Christmas. The HOA's attorney, a slick little man in a $3,000 suit named Preston Whitlock, stood behind them clutching a court order thicker than the Bible. "Mr. Crow," the lead deputy said, voice flat, "we're here to enforce eminent domain seizure for noncompliance. You have 10 minutes to vacate the premises." I stood on the porch in my overalls, coffee steaming in one hand, the other resting on the screen door. I smiled, not the polite kind. 10 minutes, I said. Funny, that's exactly how long I need. I reached into my pocket and thumbed the burner phone. I'd kept charged for 6 months. 1 text, 1 number. The timer started. I looked at the deputies, then at Whitlock, who was already sweating through his suit. "Y'all might want to radio your dispatcher," I told them. "Things are about to get real interesting." The first siren answered from the highway a mile away. "Not ours, state police." Then another. And another. I sipped my coffee and watched Whitlock's face go the color of spoiled milk. 10 minutes. That's all it would take to burn their whole house of cards to the ground. The deputies shifted like kids who just realized the prank wasn't funny anymore. Whitlock tried to look brave, clutching that court order like it was a shield. "Whatever stunt you're pulling, Crow, it won't work," he sneered. "Judge Harlan signed this himself." "Judge Harlan," I repeated, nodding slow. "Good man. Likes to hunt deer on my South Ridge every November. Drinks my whiskey. Told me last year his granddaughter was having trouble with opioids." Whitlock blinked. I kept talking, calm as Sunday morning. "See, 6 months ago, your HOA started sending those letters." I got curious. "Hired a title company out of Denver, quiet-like. Turns out the 1997 survey your whole claim rests on was done by Whitlock Surveying LLC. That your daddy's company, Preston?" His mouth opened. Nothing came out. "State Board of Licensure has some real interesting files," I said. "Seems your daddy retired right after investigators found he'd been rubber stamping plats for developers who paid in cash. They never revoked his license, just made him go away. Guess he taught you the family business." The first state trooper cruiser turned down my lane, lights cutting red and blue across the cottonwoods. Then a second, a third. The deputies were on their radios now, voices climbing. I held up the burner phone so they could see the countdown. 0842. 0841. Your 10-minute eviction just collided with a Colorado Bureau of Investigation task force that's been watching your HOA for 18 months, I said. "Racketeering, wire fraud, bribery of public officials. They were waiting for you to actually try and take the land. Needed the overt act." Whitlock dropped the court order. Papers scattered across the gravel like white leaves. One of the deputies, young kid, wedding ring glinting, looked at me with something close to awe. "You planned this?" "Son, my family's been planning this since 1873. Y'all just finally stepped in the bear trap." 0711, 0710, a black Suburban with government plates roared up. Men and women in windbreakers spilled out. One of them, tall woman, hair in a tight bun, walked straight to Whitlock and cuffed him without a word. He started screaming about lawyers. Nobody listened. I finished my coffee and set the mug on the porch rail. "Clock's ticking, Preston," I said. "Better hope your daddy taught you how to swim because the water's deep." The farmyard turned into a 3-ring circus in under 4 minutes. CBI agents fanned out with evidence boxes. 2 deputies tried to slink back to their SUVs. A female sergeant with a ponytail and zero patience blocked them. "Keys on the hood, gentlemen. You're all material witnesses now." The young deputy who'd spoken earlier looked sick. "Sarge, we were just serving papers. Papers signed by a judge who took a $250,000 campaign contribution from Whitlock's shell company," she snapped. "Congratulations. Your accessories." I leaned against a porch post and watched it unfold like a slow-motion barn fire. Whitlock was on his knees now, blubbering into the gravel while they read him the charges. RICO predicate acts. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. Bribery of state officials. Each one carried a decade or more. A news chopper thumped overhead, Channel 9 out of Denver. Someone had tipped them. I wondered which agent wanted the overtime glory. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Package delivered to every major outlet. "You're trending, old man." I smiled for real this time. 6 months earlier, when the first threatening letter came, I'd driven to Denver and sat in a hotel bar with a retired Marine named Torres, who now ran a private intelligence outfit. Cost me 2 prize bulls and a promise of lifetime hunting rights. But Torres delivered. Hidden cameras on the HOA clubhouse. Wiretaps approved under a federal racketeering warrant. Bank records from the Caymans. Emails where board members joked about the stubborn hillbilly who wouldn't sell. One particularly ugly message from Whitlock himself. "If the old bastard won't take the money, we'll bury him in legal fees until he begs." They never noticed the quiet old man nursing. Whiskey in the corner of their country club, recording every word. The timer hit 02:11. A CBI agent, mid-40s, cheap suit, expensive eyes, walked over and offered his hand. "Mr. Crow, Special Agent Mendez, we owe you a hell of an apology for letting it get this far." "Save it," I said. "Just make sure the right people go to prison." He nodded toward Whitlock, now being loaded into a van. "Starting with him. The rest of the board's being picked up as we speak. Judge Harlan's already lawyered up." I looked past him to the North 40, golden in the morning light. "Tell your people they're welcome to camp here tonight if they need. Got a bunkhouse and a deep freezer full of elk steaks." Mendez laughed despite himself. "I'll pass it along." Yeah, it was 09. 008. The timer hit 0. Somewhere in the distance. Another set of sirens started, this time heading away from my farm. By sunset, the circus was gone. Only tire tracks, yellow tape fluttering on the gate, and one forgotten evidence marker blowing across the yard like a tumbleweed. I walked the North 40 alone, boots sinking into the same soil my great-grandpa turned with oxen. The hay smelled sweet, almost drunk with summer. A red-tailed hawk rode the thermals overhead, screaming once like it approved. My real phone, this one with my actual name on it, rang. "Torres. You're the top story on every network. Elias, they're calling you. The farmer who took down the machine. Hashtag, Crow vs. HOA is breaking the internet." "Let him talk," I said. "Long as nobody spells my name wrong on the prison visitation forms." He laughed. "Feds seized the HOA's accounts. Every homeowner who paid dues into that slush fund is getting refunds. Your county assessor just revalued your acreage at $4.2 million. Offers are already coming in, legit ones. Tell him the farm still ain't for sale." "Never was." I hung up and kept walking until I reached the little cemetery under the cottonwoods. 6 generations of crows under simple stones. I crouched by my wife's grave. Mary Ruth died 2010. Best woman God ever put breath in. "I kept the promise, darling," I whispered. "They came with badges and lawyers and lies, but they left in handcuffs. Land's still ours." The wind answered through the leaves, soft as her hand used to be on my cheek. Next morning, the mailbox was stuffed with letters. Thank yous from neighbors who'd lost chunks of their own places to the same HOA, a hand-drawn card from the young deputies. Wife, he'd been cleared just following orders. An invitation from the governor to some ceremony I'd probably skip. I burned the invitations in the barrel out back and kept the thank yous. Then I saddled the old mare and rode fence until dark. The farm is quiet again. The McMansions stopped at phase 2. Half-finished skeletons already peeling in the sun. Rumor is the bank's turning the lots back into prairie. Buffalo might graze here someday. I still set a 10-minute timer every now and then, just to remember how fast everything can change when good people finally say enough. This ground raised me. I'll be planted in it one day. Until then, let any man or board or government try to take what's mine. They'll learn the same lesson Whitlock did. 10 minutes is a long damn time when justice is already on its way.